Welcome to In the Blue. This is our last show of the year. I'm so sad, but excited for the new year and so honored to have our final guest of the year be back with us, Virginia Moore. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Corey. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting because we've had a chance to work a lot together over the last few months. And the topic that Virginia is going to be covering is impacting practices so significantly that we're seeing better order, better significant increase in production, better systems, better communication. And it is the five vital steps in creating a robust recare system. In fact, this is such a powerful topic that at the end of this show, Virginia's got an offer for you that is a worksheet that you're not going to want to miss because this helps you calculate some incredible stuff with your team. So, Virginia, let's dive into this. This is the five steps. What is the heart, as you call it, the heart of every successful practice is?
The ReCare system.
The ReCare system.
And Corey, I feel very strongly about this because through the years, I've heard doctors, I've heard team members say the ReCare, the hygiene department is a lost leader. And oh my gosh, that sets my hair on end. Absolutely not. If your hygiene department is a lost leader, there's something very wrong going on. And the good news is there's some very straightforward steps you can take to enhance that. So let's get rid of the thought that the hygiene department is a lost leader. Wrong.
Yeah.
So, some metrics that we want to look at to measure the robust health of the ReCare system. And first and foremost, I'll tell you, this one is actually easy. And unfortunately, too many practices don't take advantage of it. And it is striving for a 95% pre-schedule rate. And what I mean by that is when today's hygiene patient walks out the door, they have their appointment for their next hygiene appointment. And it is very doable. It's not a pipe dream to achieve a 95% pre-schedule rate.
Yeah, that's a fundamental cornerstone of a practice, right?
Absolutely. You know, go ahead. I'm sorry. I get so
I was going to say, what do you like to see it? Because obviously I go to my dentist and I've noticed different ones. Some schedule it there at the desk as you're checking out. Sometimes the hygienist schedules you right in the chair. What do you prefer?
You know, my preference is that the hygienist schedules the patient because that's their direct care provider for that service. And I think there are so many things that a hygienist can do in that appointment time to build the rapport, the relationship, educate. And then it is more of a personal commitment that I'm making to my hygienist rather than at the front desk. It might be busy and it doesn't quite resonate. So I'm all for hygienist scheduling.
Yeah, I like that. Because again, I watch business systems, I watch things go, and I've seen where the hygienist steps out to go get the doctor for their portion of the exam, and then they just walk over to the break room instead of using that time to sit down and schedule you and yeah, develop that relationship.
And I want to add one more thing to that. During that time when, you know, I get the question, where should the hygienist be when the doctor's doing the exam and hygiene? And my answer is somewhat, you know, confused. It's like, well, the hygienist should be with the doctor and the patient.
Right.
Yeah. So for a number of reasons. Number one, to do the documentation of any findings. And number two, to be able to hear what the doctor is diagnosing and to support that treatment plan and help the patient to better understand the whys and move forward. So it's not a time to be a patient and doctor.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So I just hijacked your whole flow of that topic. So I apologize for that. But yeah, let's keep going into that.
Okay. Another metric for a robust hygiene ReCare system is that there are 85% of your patients are active in the hygiene system, the ReCare system. Yeah. And that is, they've been in within the last 12 to 18 months. And this is very, very important because I think all of us can relate to the fact that time flies. And some patients, when they're called or reached out to, and you know, your last visit was May of 2017, it's like, no way. I've been since then. So very important to make sure that we're reaching out if someone slips through the cracks, because once it's been more than 12 to 18 months, I'm not considering those people active, and that is really going to have a negative impact, of course, on your ReCare system.
Yeah, no, that's a great point, and a vital stat. I like that.
Yeah. And Corey, can I add one more aspect to the pre-schedule? Also, with your fully edentulous patients, they need to come in at least annually so that you can do maybe a reline, but also soft tissue exam. So very important. What that means is 100% of your patients need to be pre-scheduling for their appointment.
Yeah. No, that's spot on. I love it. So from there, then, once we've got that happening and those metrics in place, because that at least gives us the heartbeat of how a practice is going, and we can, what do we need to train on with the team? We can measure that from there. So let's go into understanding then hygiene days. Like, how many days should these offices have? How do they even know?
Yes, and that's a great question. And, historically, when I will ask doctors, how did you arrive at the number of hygiene days that you currently have? And I hear all types of answers like, well, that's what we did in the practice I was at before, or that's what my classmates are doing. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it's not rooted in the supply demand of the practice. And so the offer that you shared that I'm happy to make is a calculation to determine the number of days, because you may say, well, I should have 1 day of hygiene for every day I'm there. Let's say I practice 4 days a week. Well, that may not be accurate if you don't have a robust hygiene ReCare system. And so what you don't want to do is have above 8% unfilled hours in the hygiene schedule, where you could say maybe all we need right now until we work on this are 3 days a week. And so what you're doing then is not incurring greater expense without the revenue to support it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And again, because being Blue IQ and who we are, we really like to monitor that production per patient. What add-ons is the practice able to offer in that? So the hygienist is really building the value of their visit, and filling not just filling their slots, but making each visit that much more productive.
Absolutely. And what I'd like to add to that, and I love that Blue IQ measures this for us, is what I call, and Blue IQ calls, net new patients. And what that means, let's say, for example, you're attracting 20 new patients a month. So in a year, that would be 240 new patients. Well, the thought might be, if we have 240 new patients in a year, and let's say they all, there's no perio involved, they need 2 appointments a year, there's 480 more hygiene appointments that we need. So lo and behold, we add that to the schedule, and then we're thinking, why do we have above 8% unfilled hours? Why does the hygiene schedule look like Swiss cheese, holes everywhere? And so what we want to do instead is say, we may be attracting 20 new patients a month. However, what's our attrition? If we've got 5 new patients per month, or even 10 that are going active, we're really only 10 to the good. So then that, the follow through here is that instead of maybe 240 new patients in a year, with our attrition, we're only up, if you've got attrition of 10 per month, we're only up 120. Now you see the big impact of just adding hygiene days is not necessarily appropriate unless you're tracking your net new patients. And that is a number that I would say the majority of dental practices, unfortunately, do not track. And that's
not aware of,
Blue IQ is on board. Yahoo, we have that number.
And something I kind of want to add to that, because we see patients jump around from dentist to dentist, and what they're looking for is that free exam and cleaning. They're looking for the coupons. They may not have dental insurance, and so it's building that relationship and building that loyalty, and that pre-scheduling becomes even that much more vital, because if they are pre-scheduled, they're going to get an appointment reminder. They're going to get that. And one of the really cool things that Blue IQ is coming out with just in the next few weeks is the patient's probability show rate. So even when you're reviewing the schedule for the day, it's going to show you on every patient, even if they received an appointment reminder or not, it's going to show their probability show rate, because if it's low, that's a patient I actually want to physically talk to. Are you going to be in the practice? So this kind of ties in the front desk with the hygiene, and again, just making sure that we've got great show rate, we've got a full solid packed day with incredible production.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's going to be a wonderful, asset, because I think too often we tend to shy away from those things, and instead, I'm a firm believer in let's have the communication, let's be eye to eye, knee to knee, and talk about these things, and that's what helps build the rapport and relationship. Especially, if I had a doctor who would sit down and talk with me that way, oh my goodness! I mean, that's what we all want, is to have that communication and someone who cares about your health.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's powerful. And it's having just the data to start the right conversations, right? Because there's patients that we don't have to have those conversations with, but there are patients that do. And when we can confront that and we have the data right at our fingertips to initiate that, it's pretty powerful.
I think in the old days where it's like, okay, let's pull 10 charts. And I mean, it's like, it's immediate information that we have right at our fingertips with Blue IQ. Something else that I want to add to this, another aspect to look at is what I call the service mix in your hygiene department. So in other words, do you have at least 30% of the procedures that are perio related? Mm-hmm. Because if they're all, and of course I'm talking about a general practice, not pediatric, primarily adult patients. But that being said, it's also a great indicator where we can look and say, what is that service mix? It tells us immediately what percent is perio related. Mm-hmm. And if that's not there, then we have a direct target to work on.
Yeah. That's training with the hygiene team, right?
Absolutely. And as a consultant coaching, practices, that is so helpful for me. We have just erased so much prep time and gotten right down to the heart of things. So, time is everyone's most valuable resource, and Blue IQ, in my experience, helps us to get right down to the nitty gritty and then begin the coaching and educating.
Yeah, I mean, I became aware of that, a while ago. And so I look at that. That's one of the big things I look at in their hygiene team, just in the setup process as I'm setting up or working with a Blue IQ user. So here's my question, because I have had this conversation, and again, I'm not the consultant, so I'm really I leave that up to you and let you do your thing. But I do ask the client, I notice that you're doing a lot of prophy, but not very much perio. Is there a reason why you're not higher on perio? Are you mostly a pediatric practice? And what I'm finding is that these dentists are like, no, we just do our prophy. Mm-hmm. So what do you say to those practices?
It's a great question, Corey, and it's interesting because I also hear, I see that you're doing a lot of prophies. What about scaling root planing, perio maintenance? And oftentimes, unfortunately, I hear, oh, yes, we're doing that. Well, it's not showing up. So what I see too often is that, yes, that service is being provided. A hygienist will scale root plane, but it's being charged as a prophy because of pressure from patients. My insurance won't pay for that. And so this comes back to how to support and coach a team in being able to answer those questions and overcome patient objections, because that's a disservice. If a patient has periodontal disease, it is a disservice to provide that service, the scaling root planing, but bill it as a prophy, because the patient isn't really fully understanding their condition.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's that's the work that I love to do and help a team feel more confident in, because that's, oh my goodness, with everything we know today in health medicine, periodontal disease is something that if a patient has it, the more aware they can be, the better they are able then to manage their health.
Yeah, as our audience knows, one of my passions is that link between oral health and functional medicine and
Yeah.
infection and systemic health. We do a lot of systemic health workshops and speaking engagements. And again, if the hygienist fully understands that, which I don't know that most of them do, that the top five leading causes of death can be linked to oral health very easily in the research today.
Right.
And and that's why this is why Virginia is so passionate about it. It's because this is helping a patient see their oral health in a whole new light related to their systemic health and raising that awareness. We're willing to pay for things that are important to us. And that
Absolutely.
changes the paradigm.
And what I will also say, and I've watched the light bulb go on for a number of people, I will say, just like if you had a patient who was a type 1 diabetic, what they hopefully know is that this is something that they will not be cured. It is a disease that they will need to learn to live with and manage.
How to
And
manage it.
same thing with periodontal disease. And oftentimes, like I said, the light comes on so they can explain it that way to a patient,
Yeah,
to help them understand that this isn't, I have scaling and root planing and then I'm cured and I go back to a prophy. And again, I know that pressure's there with the
yeah,
insurance, but we've
yeah,
got to say what's right for this person and their health.
yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. So then let's take this data and let's talk about the flow of that morning huddle. How do we make it more efficient, more engaging, more exciting for the team so that they're walking out of the morning huddle with just the very specific things they need to perform that day?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if anyone's listening and they're not having a morning huddle, put that as top on your action plan list. You must have one.
That's
And
another cornerstone foundation of
it
just
is.
practice 101.
Absolutely. It's a cornerstone of any successful practice that I've seen. They have not only a morning huddle, but they have an effective morning huddle. And
Yeah,
so effective starts off with the accurate, correct data right there at your fingertips. So it's being able to launch into the day and having information on the patients that will be seen that day, first of all, to be as effective as possible. So is there someone there that has a specific need that we need to discuss with them? Is there an account balance that needs to be collected or discussed? Is there a patient coming in today, let's say on doctor's side of the schedule, that does not have a hygiene appointment? We need to get on top of that. So it helps us to zero in on that. And that's what I love about Blue IQ's information for the morning huddle. And here's something else. If you're listening to this, I have a question for you. How many of you love getting a computer printout that's about 12 pages long and it is filled with the names of patients that need to be called because they're not in the hygiene schedule?
yeah, it's
Anyone
overwhelming.
exciting, I'd love to meet them because
Yeah,
I've never come across that. So what Blue IQ does is very easily identify who are the patients as of today that are going inactive. And when we can take that 12-page report and break it down into maybe there's 3 patients today or 7, and
mhm,
right out of the huddle get a directive to say those are the people that we're going to reach out to, it makes it so much more manageable. We're tackling these things, pardon the pun, but in a bite-sized fashion where
yeah,
it's easy to do instead of that daunting computer printout that's I always see it's worked from about A to G, and then from there on in the
it's,
alphabet,
it's ignored, and then I start over again.
right? We all know it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
yeah. That's digestible reactivation. I mean, we use that word on purpose. It's because we don't want to overwhelm anybody. Just by the end of the day, have these patients called and then get them on the schedule. And let's build that schedule. Let's continue to drive and engage because that's the heart of the doctor being able to have opportunities to diagnose, fill the clinical schedule, and change people's healths dramatically.
absolutely. Yeah. If we don't have that, then my question is, what are we doing for our patients? I think we're not giving them the best that we can.
Yeah. Yeah, love it. Any other tidbits on I don't know, same day production out of that hygiene appointment, patients coming with clinical, they're past due for hygiene. How do you handle some of those?
Same thing is, first of all, everyone's got to be there. This is huddle. Let me back up a moment. Huddle is not a donut eating time. Huddle is all hands on deck. I would recommend everyone have like a wire bound huddle notebook. And you arrive at huddle ready to take notes pertinent to your area of responsibility. So for instance, if you're an assistant and what you're seeing from the Blue IQ information is that, yes, you're going to be treating these patients on doctor's side of the schedule, but 3 of them don't have their next hygiene appointment. Great conversation for you to have, and maybe you schedule them, or when you escort them up to the front desk, you're making sure that that's being taken care of. So it is not just, standing or sitting and with a cup of coffee and listening. It is
Right.
hands-on, making notes about what they personally can do as a result of the data that we see. So it's again, a robust huddle. There's nothing like it. And I love watching the end of huddle when everyone breaks loose with their notebook and a very clear path of what they'll be doing today to serve the patients in the best way possible. Because if you can get that patient scheduled for their next appointment, that's a great service to the patient. If you can talk to them about maybe a lingering account balance that may even have them avoiding future treatments, that's another great service that we can provide as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just for those listening, remember that Blue IQ can export these lists, and so it's pretty powerful when the team lead comes in just 5 minutes before everybody else, prints those off for each team member for the data that they need, because it can be broken down for that specific position. And then they're handed a sheet that they can put into that notebook and take notes right on that and execute it throughout the day as a checklist.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Well, this has been an incredible show, Virginia. Love it. And remember, for our audience, Virginia is offering a worksheet. You can just request this worksheet that allows you to download the ability to calculate how many hygiene days you should be having based upon some very easy to enter, criteria about your practice. And if you just go to virginiamoore.com/free call with Virginia, we've got that on the ticker for you right there with the full address .html. This will give you that ability to do that. And then what Virginia will do is follow up with you with a phone call to review that and talk about those number of days and any concerns you may have and how to strategize your effectiveness in there. And I tell you, after working for Virginia this year, she is changing practices' lives. I mean, this is impactful stuff that changes everything. So, Virginia, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Corey, and your family.
It's here. It's hard to believe, but we're here.
Yeah, it's hopefully you've got everything taken care of. I wrapped the last gift last night, so I am really ready. Yeah,
you're doing better than me, man. If I wrap the gifts now, I still have a 3-year-old, so they'll be open before Christmas Eve. So we're holding on to Christmas Eve to put those presents out. I still have a little shopping to do today, but we'll get out there. We'll get it done.
Good luck with that.
Okay, thank you for joining us today and In the Blue with our guest, Virginia Moore. 5 vital steps and robust hygiene. This is the tools that will help your practice scale and become the practice of your dreams, especially as we go into 2019. Remember, Blue IQ helps you set your goals and track and see that progress and engage your team so that it's fun. It's fun to be in practice. There's just nothing better than interacting with patients and changing patients' lives. Remember, In the Blue, we're here Fridays, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Have a fantastic weekend.